You know, I've been watching wrestling for almost 2 decades now, and for me, there's almost nothing better than a good match stipulation. Whether it's ladder matches, street fights, Hell in a Cell, or even the modern Iron Survivor challenges, the announcement of these matches never fails to hype me up. And look, I know, these matches don't always deliver, but at least the concepts make sense and the rules are clear. Most of the time. But then you get matches like these, matches that not only make you question your wrestling fandom, make you question your sanity, even sometimes make you question your entire existence. Folks, let's get negative. It's your boy Mo if you don't already know, and these are the dumbest wrestling match stipulations of all time. Let's talk about it. So we're gonna start things in WWE, specifically in a time period where, to be honest, the whole world is in a complete meltdown. Good old 2020. You know, when WWE was in their weirder state creatively and they were legit just trying anything. And during this time, we had what was a never-ending rivalry between Seth Rollins and Rey Mysterio, which on paper is two of the best in-ring performers of all time having matches against each other, which sounds good in theory, but they went ahead and made things more complicated. So what started this whole rivalry is the night when Becky Lynch announced that she was pregnant. Seth comes out looking like he's having a whole midlife crisis. So what does he do? He legit grabs Rey Mysterio and rams his eye into the corner of the steel steps for what seemed like no apparent reason. Mind you, the night before, Rey Mysterio was literally thrown off the top of a building. This man Rey be going through it, bro, because goddamn. But then eventually a challenge is laid out for a match between the two at Extreme Rules, and it's set to be an eye for an eye match, where the only way to win was by removing your opponent's eye from its socket.
What kind of shit is that?
But why though? So then the match happens, and unsurprisingly, the in-ring work is actually pretty alright. But then we get to the match finish, where Seth Rollins once again pushes Rey Mysterio's eye into the corner of the steel steps so hard this time until his eye, quote unquote, pops out of its socket for him to win the match. And to call this whole thing a mess would be an understatement, because obviously they weren't gonna actually remove his eye, but they used a freaking ping pong ball, and now Rey's holding his eye, and Seth Rollins just cannot handle the carnage he himself just created, so he just starts hurling everywhere. Why do this? Like, again, I just want to make it very clear. I'm not an evil man. I don't actually want to see Rey Mysterio's eye be taken out. But like, they really should have, honestly, maybe, I don't know, not do this match concept because it's freaking stupid. But you know what else is stupid? Running real fights among untrained boxers. Ladies and gentlemen, let me take you back to the late 90s and introduce you to the genius that is Vince Russo, who, to be honest, is responsible for most of this list. So back in the summer of '98, the WWF ran a tournament named the Brawl For All, where they threw a bunch of mid-carders in legitimate boxing fights, and let me tell you, this was a disaster from the start. First of all, the rumor is that Vince Russo did this whole thing to see Bradshaw get beaten up, which might be the pettiest thing I've ever heard in my life. But also, if you wanted to see the guy get beaten up, why not just, I don't know, do it yourself? Just a thought. Anyways, another issue with this was that guys just kept getting hurt. Legit, 7 out of the 16 people that were in it got legit injuries, which honestly isn't surprising. They're not trained. And the other thing is, you can't really plan this out. It's all a shoot. And the guy they wanted to win the whole thing, Dr. Death Steve Williams, got knocked out in the second round by the eventual winner, Bart Gunn. So that didn't even work in their favor. And for fuck's sake, please do not get me started on the quality of these matches. Like, I have legit seen better fights in my high school cafeteria. And on top of that, fans didn't care for any of this. They were constantly getting chants of boring or we want wrestling, and well, duh, you paid for a wrestling show. But I guess Russo got his wish in the end because Bradshaw got knocked out in the final by Bart Gunn. And how do they reward the guy? By having him get knocked out by trained boxer Butterbean at WrestleMania 15 in 35 seconds and was never seen on WWF TV again. So in summary, almost half the competitors got hurt, fans were bored, the WWF didn't get the winner they wanted, and the actual winner got punished. Got it. This was just a colossal waste of time, and it just goes to show that real fighting doesn't work well with pro wrestling, so let's not do that. They never learn. Now for this next one, let's stick with the WWF in the late 90s, specifically 1999 in one of the wildest storylines I think I've ever seen. So Al Snow and the Big Boss Man were beefing over the hardcore title, but shit got so personal where Boss Man kidnaps Snow's dog named Pepper. But then all of a sudden in the middle of the storyline, Boss Man had a random change of heart. So then he invites Al Snow to his motel room so they can hash out their differences. And when Al Snow pulls up, he apparently had cooked something for him.
How's it taste?
Oh, it's not bad.
But it turns out, he used too much pepper.
That's right, Al. 100% grade A pepper.
This man tricked Al Snow into eating his own dog.
What?
Oh, hell no!
The attitude error, ladies and gentlemen. So then Snow challenges Boss Man to a Kennel from Hell match at Unforgiven 99, which essentially was a steel cage match within the Hell in a Cell structure, which when you think about it is kind of a precursor to the Punjabi prison match. And honestly, just pretend like I already talked about that mess because I'm in a good mood and I don't feel like crashing out today, okay? Anyways, the match, dog shit. Pun definitely intended. So the objective of this match was to escape both cages to win the match while trying to avoid these supposed ferocious dogs that were on the outside of the ring. And let me tell you, the action in the ring was so bad. The dogs were more interested in doing their business, or quite frankly, doing each other. Plus, look at this dog. Does he look scary to you? Motherfucker looks pettable as fuck. Bruh, this shit was so bad. Vince Russo himself has said that this is his worst booking ever, which is kind of saying a lot because I have 3 words for you. WCW in 2000. Oh boy. Literally a wrestling promotion's equivalent to Shaq on the Celtics. This was the point you knew they were cooked. Where do I even start? Like David Arquette as WCW champion? Hell, Vince Russo booked himself to be WCW champion? Whatever the hell the circus that Bash at the Beast 2000 was, like the list goes on. And honestly, it's kind of sad to look back at. And to be fair, Vince Russo was responsible for a lot of the good stuff that was happening in the WWF in the late 90s, but what the hell was up with him in 2000? Like, what was his obsession with putting things on poles? A champagne bottle, a leather jacket, Viagra? Yeah, a Viagra on a pole match, for fuck's sake. Oh yeah, and since you can't really legally hang a human woman on a pole, how about a Judy Bagwell on a forklift match? So this was your plan, to start another 83-week streak over the WWF? You know, the same WWF that was potentially creating their best product in company history at the time? Yeah, alright. And for this next one, they had to ask themselves, what's the best way to make an object on a pole match even more idiotic? And then somebody had to respond, oh, how about 4 boxes on poles and you have to try and find which box has the title? Ladies and gentlemen, the San Francisco 49ers match. Off rip, the name gets taxed because as a Seahawks fan, fuck the Niners. But real shit, how little did Vince Russo value the WCW title? Oh yeah, he gave it to himself. But yo, what kind of malarkey was this? You had one box containing a fucking blow-up doll, one with the damn coal miner's glove, and one with the picture of Scott freaking Hall of all people. Man, Booker T's face here just says it all for me. And just to make things worse, the cherry on top of this shit cake is when Booker actually grabs the box with the title in it, the belt just so happens to fall out of the box. I mean, it's kind of easy to see why WCW fell apart and eventually closed its doors. And no cap, no hate to the man. I don't know Vince Russo personally, but who in their right mind, after all of this, still gave Vince Russo a job in pro wrestling? Of course they did. Look, as much as I like TNA and I'm really glad that they've gotten a bit of a resurgence in the past year, in their heyday, they were the definition of just trying to be different. Look no further than the 6-sided ring. Granted, while that was cool, TNA didn't always do the best when it came to inventing their own stuff. Sometimes they felt the need to make things more complicated than it needed to be. First of all, the King of the Mountain match, and before you die-hard TNA fans come at me, just let me explain. Because when you really break this down, it's basically just a reverse ladder match. Why? So basically, in order to become what they would call eligible to grab the title, you would have to score a pinfall on one of your opponents. The one that got pinned would then have to go in a penalty box for 2 minutes, and then you would have to try and go get the title from the official. And for those of y'all that are hearing about this for the first time, you're probably thinking to yourself, doesn't that kind of sound like the NXT Iron Survivor Challenge? Well, let me tell you how they ruined it. So now that you've got the belt, You then have to climb a ladder and try to hang the belt above the ring. And if you get stopped and the belt drops or whatever, the belt goes back to the official. And the cycle continues until somebody's able to hang the belt above the ring to win. To then just pull it back down because you won the title. Just have a ladder match. But you know, at least this is something some people like. But I will never understand anybody that will try and defend the reverse battle royal. And I'm not gonna lie, this might be the most nonsensical, convoluted thing on the list. So I'm gonna do my very best to explain it. So there's 3 different phases of the match. First of which is where a bunch of wrestlers start on the outside of the ring. And the first objective is for 7 people to actually get in the ring over the top rope to move on to phase 2. But what makes this even worse is that the first 5 to 7 minutes of these matches would consist of these dudes breaking out into brawls on the outside instead of, oh, I don't know, trying to get in the ring? So you mean to tell me that these people who make a living off entering the ring, when it's time to do so, just forgot how to do it magically? Why do I watch wrestling again? So then after you get 7 people in the ring, everyone else is eliminated, but then you get phase 2, where the match just basically becomes a standard battle royal where you gotta throw your opponent over the top rope until there's just 2 left in the ring. Which would then lead to phase 3, where these final 2 would then have a singles match to determine the winner of this entire clown show. Whoever would win would have a bye to the finals of what they would call the Fight for the Right tournament. And the seeding of that was determined by phase 2 of the reverse battle royal, and then the winner at the end of this whole thing would then become #1 contender to the NWA World title. My brain hurts. But then the next year, they made some changes to try to fix this unfixable match. So now instead of trying to get 7 people into the ring, you're trying to get 8. And also both of the last 2 phases would determine the seeding of a now 8-man tournament, which includes the winner. So it makes a little bit more sense now. But at the end of the day, why not just have a regular battle royal? Or better yet, have a normal, cohesive 8-man tournament where people get to showcase their talents and have great normal matches instead of, you know, fighting for the right to look like a dumbass. All right, now let's talk about some other match stipulations that don't have really much of a backstory, but they need to be talked about because they're dumb as hell. A chairs match. So you mean to tell me that a match that has no disqualifications, meaning I can do whatever I want, my only weapon of choice is a steel chair. And because this is just a wonderful match concept, WWE decided, let's remix this. A stairs match. First of all, mistake number 1 was having this match be between Eric Rowan and The Big Show. I don't even want to see them in a regular match, so what made you think putting a dumb stipulation would make that better? And I don't think I really have to tell you, like, there's never been a good one of either one of those. The blindfold match. And kayfabe, like, if I was a wrestler, why the hell would I participate in this bullshit? Like, what the hell was this supposed to prove? That I got the best echolocation? Bro, I'm not a bat. And look, I know that it's meant to be a comedy gimmick match, but I thought that a good comedy gimmick match was supposed to be funny. The bra and panties match. The Mimosa Mayhem. Because get it? Orange Cassidy, orange juice, and Chris Jericho likes
a little bit of the bubbly.
Look, AEW didn't catch any smoke this whole video, and I got every other major wrestling promotion, so I gotta give them something. But like, how is being dumped in mimosa a punishment? That just sounds like a good time. Sure, you might be a little sticky afterwards, but
What do you mean by that?
pause. The Punjabi prison match. Okay, look, I know I said I was gonna ignore it, right? But that would feel so wrong because the Punjabi prison match, in the words of Jinder Mahal himself, sucks. Like I said before, this is basically the Kennel from hell without the dogs, and you're replacing the steel with bamboo. And speaking of the bamboo, that shit is damn near impossible to see through for us at home. So I can only imagine how bad it was for the people watching it there live. And then the dumbass doors that would only open for 60 seconds. Like, this match just doesn't work. It doesn't work. The best thing that ever happened in one of them was Batista jumping from one cage to another. Which, granted, dope spot. But the match before it was an abomination. And what the fuck made them think we should do this match again and still involve an even less mobile Great Khali? Why? You know what? I think I've had enough brain rot for one video, so we're just gonna leave it here. But if there's any bad match stipulations that I somehow forgot about, please let me know in the comments down below. Maybe we can make a part 2 of all this, right? But that's it for me. Appreciate you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, like the video, comment down below, subscribe to the channel, share the video around. It's your boy Mo if you don't already know. Follow me on the socials, by the way. But I'm out of here. I'm gone.